The Great Hall on Nexus Prime buzzed with excitement. 12 different alien species sat in their special seats, looking down at the small platform in the center. The platform looked tiny compared to the massive room around it. Above them, holographic, displays showed star maps with red marks where human colonies used to be. Ambassador Lee Do-hyun walked slowly across the smooth floor. His black diplomatic uniform looked plain next to the colorful robes and armor of the alien representatives. Behind him, Captain Park Min-ho followed in his simple military dress. The captain's face showed no emotion, but his eyes moved constantly, watching everything. Chancellor Vexithara stood up from his golden throne. The Zentari leader was tall and thin, with blue skin that glowed softly in the chamber's light. His forearms moved as he spoke, and his voice echoed through the hall. "Humans," Vexithara said, his voice full of pride. "You have come here because your species faces total defeat. We have destroyed your colonies. We have crushed your fleets. Now you must accept the terms we offer or watch your homeworld burn." Around the chamber, other alien leaders nodded and made sounds of agreement. The Krexian War Marshal Grokhan slammed his massive fist on his metal chair. The sound rang out like thunder. Grokhan was huge, even sitting down. His gray skin looked like stone and his small red eyes glowed with anger. "Your warriors fight like children," Grokhan growled. "My soldiers break your defenses like twigs. You humans are weak and soft." Lee Do-hyun stood perfectly still. He kept his hands behind his back and his face calm. Next to him, Park Min-ho watched, the alien leaders with quiet attention. The captain noticed how they had arranged themselves. The strongest species sat in the highest seats. The weaker ones sat lower down. It was all about showing power. A holographic display came to life above, the center platform. It showed the current war situation. Red dots marked destroyed human colonies. Blue lines showed alien fleet movements. Green areas showed space under alien control. To anyone looking, it seemed clear that humans were losing badly. "Look at your pathetic situation," said Prime Minister Zulmahar. The small, gray-skinned leader pointed at the display with one of his 6 arms. "You control only 12 star systems now. 3 months ago, you had 47. We have taken everything from you." Other alien voices joined in. They spoke in different languages, but the translation devices made their words clear. They all said the same thing in different ways. Humans were beaten. Humans were finished. Humans should surrender now before things got worse. Lee Do-hyun listened to it all without speaking. He had heard these same words in the private meetings before. Today, the aliens thought they knew everything about human military strength. They thought they understood human tactics and technology. They were very sure of themselves. Chancellor Vexithara raised his hand for silence. The talking stopped immediately. This showed how much power he had over the other species. When he spoke, everyone listened. "Here are the terms," Vexithara announced. "First, all human military forces will be disbanded. Your ships will be destroyed or given to us. Your weapons will be melted down. Your soldiers will return to peaceful work." He paused to let this sink in, then continued. "Second, humans will leave all worlds except Earth. You will give up your colonies, your mining stations, and your trade posts. These will belong to worthy species." Park Min-ho's jaw tightened slightly, but he said nothing. Lee Do-hyun remained perfectly calm. "Third," Vexithara went on, "Earth will be placed under our protection. You will follow our laws. You will pay tribute to the Council. You will never again build weapons or ships capable of leaving your star system." War Marshal Grokhan stood up. Even from across the chamber, his size was frightening. "If you refuse these terms, we will take Earth by force. Your cities will burn. Your people will serve as slaves. Choose wisely, humans." The chamber filled with alien voices again. Some laughed. Others made threatening sounds. A few of the smaller species looked uncomfortable, but they said nothing. They were too afraid to disagree with the powerful ones. Lee Do-hyun stepped forward. His movement was so calm and controlled that it made the chamber grow quiet. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. They expected begging. They expected fear. They expected surrender. "I have listened to your terms," Li Doyun said. His voice was clear and steady. It carried easily through the large chamber. "I have considered your demands carefully." Chancellor Vexithara leaned forward in his throne. His blue face showed satisfaction. He thought he was about to receive humanity's surrender. "We have studied your military reports," Li Doyun continued. "We understand the situation you have described. We know you believe humans are weak and defeated." "You are weak and defeated," War Marshal Grokhan interrupted. "Your own messages prove it. We intercepted your communications. Your generals cry about heavy losses. Your colonies beg for help that never comes." Li Dohyun nodded slowly. "Yes, you have intercepted many of our communications. You have seen our losses. You have watched our retreats. You have counted our destroyed ships." The alien leaders looked pleased. Finally, the human was admitting the truth. "Based on all of this evidence," Li Doyun said, "you have drawn your conclusions about human strength and human intentions." Captain Park Minho moved slightly closer to the ambassador. The movement looked casual, but his hand rested near his sidearm. Not that a single weapon would help in a room full of hostile aliens, but old habits were strong. "Therefore," Li Dohyun continued, "you have made your demands. You expect unconditional surrender. You expect total submission. You expect humans to accept the place you have chosen for us." Chancellor Vexthara stood up again. "Exactly. You understand your position. Now sign the surrender documents and end this war with whatever dignity you have left." A small platform rose from the floor next to Li Doyun. On it sat a data tablet containing the surrender terms. The document had been prepared in advance. The aliens were so sure of themselves that they had written out humanity's defeat before the meeting even started. Li Doyun looked at the tablet for a long moment. The chamber was completely silent. Every alien representative leaned forward to watch. This was the moment they had been waiting for, the moment when the troublesome humans would finally submit to superior species. The human ambassador reached out slowly toward the tablet. His fingers were almost touching it when he stopped. He looked up at the assembled alien leaders. His expression was still perfectly calm. "I have one response to your generous offer," Li Dohyun said. "Yes?" Chancellor Vexithara prompted. "What is your response?" Li Doyun pulled his hand back from the tablet. He clasped his hands behind his back again and stood straight. When he spoke, his voice carried clearly to every corner of the great hall. "Humanity respectfully declines." The silence that followed was complete. No one moved. No one breathed. The words hung in the air like a physical thing. Then the chamber exploded with noise. Alien voices shouted in anger and disbelief. War Marshal Grokhan roared like a wild animal. Chancellor Vexithara's blue skin turned darker with rage. "Impossible!" Vexithara screamed. "You cannot refuse. You have no choice. We will destroy you." Li Dohyun turned and began walking toward the exit. Captain Park Minho fell into step beside him. Neither human hurried. Neither human looked back. They walked with the steady pace of people who had somewhere important to be. "Stop!" Grokhan bellowed. "You do not leave until you sign." The two humans kept walking. Their footsteps echoed in the suddenly quiet chamber. The aliens had stopped shouting to watch in amazement. No species had ever simply walked away from the Galactic Council's demands. At the great doors, Li Doyun paused. He turned back to face the assembled aliens one last time. "Chancellor Vexithara," he said formally. "War Marshal Grokhan, members of the Galactic Council, thank you for making your position clear. We will be in touch." The doors closed behind the humans with a soft sound that seemed as loud as thunder in the shocked silence. Chancellor Vexithara stared at the closed doors for a full minute before finding his voice. "Crush them," he whispered. Then louder, "Crush them all. Every human world burns. Every human ship dies. Show them what happens when inferior species refuse their betters." The chamber erupted in savage cheers and war cries. Plans were made. Fleets were ordered to move. The full might of 12 species would fall on humanity like a hammer. None of them noticed the small smile that had crossed Captain Park Min-ho's face just before the doors closed. None of them wondered why the humans had seemed so calm. None of them asked themselves why a defeated species would walk away from mercy. They would learn soon enough. 3 days after walking out of the Galactic Council, Lee Do-yoon stood on the bridge of the Incheon's Pride. The massive ship floated in deep space, far from any star system. Around it, hundreds of other human vessels waited in perfect formation. The fleet stretched out in all directions, a sight that would have shocked the alien council members. Admiral Kim Ji-soo sat in the command chair, watching data streams flow across multiple screens. She was younger than most people expected for a fleet commander, but her eyes held the wisdom of someone who had planned for this moment for years. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple style, and her uniform bore no fancy decorations. She believed in function over appearance. "Report," Admiral Kim said to her communications officer. "All ships are in position, Admiral," came the reply. "Ghost protocols are active. We're invisible to all known sensor types." Lee Do-yoon approached the command area. Behind him walked Captain Park Min-ho, who had removed his diplomatic dress and now wore the dark gray uniform of human intelligence. The transformation was remarkable. The quiet military observer had become something much more dangerous. "Welcome aboard, gentlemen," Admiral Kim said, standing to greet them. "I trust the council meeting went exactly as planned?" "Better than planned," Lee Do-hyun replied. "They're even more arrogant than our intelligence suggested. Chancellor Vexithara practically foamed at the mouth when we walked out." Dr. Yoon Tae-hyung approached from the intelligence station. He was a thin man with thick glasses who looked more like a university professor than a military officer. His appearance was deceiving. Dr. Yoon had designed the most complex deception operation in human history. "The alien fleets are moving exactly as we predicted," Dr. Yoon reported. "Grokon is leading the main Krexian battle group toward our outer rim colonies. The Centauri fleets are heading for our mining worlds in the Beta sector. Every major alien force is rushing to attack what they think are our last strongholds." Commander Cho Yoon-ji materialized on the main screen. She was broadcasting from her stealth ship Soul's Shadow, which was currently hidden near Nexus Prime. The young commander's face showed excitement barely held in check. "Admiral, the alien homeworlds are wide open," Cho Yoon-ji reported. "They've pulled almost all their defensive fleets to join the attack on human space. Centauri Prime has only a handful of patrol ships left. Krexian Command barely has enough vessels to defend their orbital stations." Admiral Kim nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. Everything is proceeding according to schedule." Lee Do-hyun moved to stand beside the tactical display. The holographic map showed the real situation across the galaxy. Red dots marked alien fleets, racing toward human colonies. Blue dots showed the true positions of human forces. Green lines indicated planned attack routes that would soon activate. "It's hard to believe it actually worked," Lee Do-hyun said quietly. 3 years of careful planning," Dr. Yoon replied. 3 years of studying every alien species in the council. 3 years of letting them think they were winning." Captain Park Min-ho joined them at the display. "Tell me again how we convinced them we were losing so badly." Dr. Yoon adjusted his glasses and began explaining. "We started by studying each species' psychology. The Centauri are proud and believe they're naturally superior to everyone else. The Krexians respect only strength and assume anyone who retreats is weak. The Thrakari follow whoever seems to be winning." He pointed to different sections of the tactical map as he spoke. "So we gave them exactly what they expected to see. We let them capture some colonies, but only after evacuating all the important equipment and people. We fought defensive battles where we seemed desperate and outmatched. We sent communications that they could intercept, messages full of fear and requests for help. The intercepted communications were the key," Lee Do-yoon added. "We made sure. They overheard our desperate calls for reinforcements that never came. We let them capture classified documents showing how badly our military was struggling." Admiral Kim brought up another display showing human ship construction. While they were congratulating themselves on their victories, We were building this fleet in secret. 200 ships using our most advanced technology. Ships they've never seen before and can't detect. The vessels shown on the screen looked different from the ships the aliens had been fighting. These were sleeker, more advanced, with hull configurations that seemed to bend light around them. Their weapon systems were completely new designs. How did we keep the construction secret? Park Min-ho asked. Hidden shipyards and asteroid fields, Admiral Kim explained. Mobile construction platforms that could move if anyone got too close. We used resources from the colonies we evacuated to fund the project. Every time we abandoned a world, we made sure to take everything valuable with us. Commander Cho Yoonji's voice came from the speakers again. Admiral, we're picking up priority communications from the alien fleets. They're very excited about their upcoming attacks on human colonies. Let them be excited, Admiral Kim said with a cold smile. Dr. Yoon, show our guests the technical specifications for our new ships. Dr. Yoon activated another display. The biggest advantage is our quantum tunnel drive system. Traditional faster-than-light travel takes hours or days to cross between star systems. Our new drives can make the same journey in minutes. The display showed a comparison between conventional FTL travel and the new human system. The difference was dramatic. The aliens are still using drives based on technology that's hundreds of years old. Dr. Yoon continued. They never innovated because they didn't need to. They were always fighting weaker species. We, on the other hand, spent the last decade advancing our technology specifically to fight them. What about our ghost stealth systems? Lee Do-yeon asked. Another breakthrough, Dr. Yoon replied proudly. We studied every sensor type used by council species. Our stealth technology doesn't just hide us from one type of detection, it makes us invisible to all of them. Electromagnetic, gravitational, quantum signature, psionic scanning, none of it can find us when we don't want to be found. Admiral Kim stood and walked to the main viewport. Outside, the hidden fleet waited in perfect silence. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, invisible to alien eyes but ready to strike. There's something else, Admiral Kim said. Something the aliens don't understand about humans. What's that? Park Min-ho asked. They think in terms of individual strength. The Krexians believe the biggest warrior wins. The Zentauri think the most advanced species dominates. They never learn to work together effectively. Each species fights in their own way, using their own tactics. She turned back to face the group. Humans are different. We adapt. We learn. We study our enemies and find their weaknesses. While they were celebrating their victories, we were recording everything. Every battle tactic, every ship design, every communication protocol. We know them better than they know themselves. Dr. Yoon brought up files on each alien species. Krexian battle doctrine emphasizes frontal assault with heavy armor. They expect enemies to either run away or try to match their strength. They don't handle unexpected tactics well. Centauri fleets rely on coordination and superior technology, he continued. But their coordination depends on constant communication between ships. Disrupt their communications and they become confused and isolated. Drakari forces follow simple pack hunting behavior, overwhelming numbers attacking from multiple directions. But they panic if the fight doesn't go according to plan. Admiral Kim nodded approvingly. Every species has patterns. Humans learn to break those patterns. Commander Cho Yoonji appeared on screen again. Admiral, long-range sensors show the first alien fleets are almost at their targets. They should reach the outer rim colonies in about 6 hours. Perfect timing, Admiral Kim said. How long until our quantum tunnel drives are ready? Drive systems are charged and ready, Admiral, came the reply from the engineering station. All ships report ready for immediate jump. Lee Do-yeon looked at the tactical display one more time. In a few hours, everything would change. The aliens rushing toward what they thought were helpless human colonies would find empty space. Meanwhile, humanity would strike at the heart of alien power. I almost feel sorry for them, Lee Do-yeon said quietly. Don't, Admiral Kim replied, firmly. They had their chance for peace. They chose to demand surrender instead of offering fair terms. They decided humans were inferior and deserved to be enslaved. This is what they earned. Captain Park Minho checked his weapon and adjusted his gear. What are our specific targets? Dr. Yoon highlighted locations on the star map. Simultaneous strikes on all 12 Council homeworlds, military installations, command centers, communication hubs, and orbital defenses. We avoid civilian areas completely. The goal isn't to destroy them, Admiral Kim explained. The goal is to prove they're helpless without their fleets. When their ships come rushing home, they'll find their worlds occupied by the primitive humans they were so eager to crush. And then? Lee Do-yeon asked. Then they'll finally be ready to negotiate seriously, Admiral Kim said. From a position of weakness instead of strength, they'll discover what it feels like to be on the receiving end of surrender demands. She moved to her command chair and activated the fleet-wide communication system. Captain Kang Hyun-woo watched the swirling colors of quantum space through the viewport of his flagship Busan Thunder. Around him, 47 human warships traveled through the impossible dimensions between normal space. In just moments, they would emerge in the Centauri home system, striking at the heart of alien power. Quantum emergence in 30 seconds, announced his navigation officer. All ships report ready for combat operations. Kang Hyun-woo was a veteran of the border wars, but nothing in his experience compared to this moment. For months he had watched alien forces destroy human colonies, knowing it was all part of a larger plan. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could really do. Ghost protocols active, reported his tactical officer. Stealth systems at maximum efficiency. Enemy sensors will not detect us until we choose to reveal ourselves. The captain nodded and opened communications to his attack fleet. All ships, this is Captain Kang. Remember, we strike hard and fast. Military targets only. No civilian casualties. Show them we're better than they are. The swirling colors outside suddenly snapped into normal starfield. Centauri Prime hung before them, a beautiful blue and silver world surrounded by orbital stations and defense platforms. Alien ships moved, in lazy patrols, completely unaware that an entire human fleet had just appeared in their system. Sensors show minimal defensive forces, his intelligence officer reported. 12 patrol cruisers, 6 heavy destroyers, and about 30 smaller vessels. The main Centauri battle fleet is 3 days away, heading for our colonies. Kang Hyun-woo smiled grimly. The aliens had taken their most powerful ships to attack what they thought were defenseless human settlements. Now their homeworld was protected by nothing more than a police force. Begin the operation, he ordered. Across the system, human ships revealed themselves simultaneously. The ghost stealth technology deactivated, and suddenly the Centauri defenders found themselves facing an enemy fleet that had appeared from nowhere. The alien response was immediate but chaotic. Patrol ships broke formation and scattered in all directions. Some tried to reach the orbital defense platforms. Others sent desperate messages calling for help that would not arrive in time. Centauri Command is broadcasting on all frequencies, his communications officer reported. They're demanding to know who we are and how we got past their perimeter defenses. Tell them, Kang Hyun-woo said. Open a channel to their command station. The main screen showed a Centauri admiral, his blue skin pale with shock. Behind him, alien technicians ran around in panic, trying to organize a defense against an impossible situation. Attention Centauri forces, Kang Hyun-woo said calmly. This is Captain Kang Hyun-woo of the Human Defense Force. You have exactly 10 minutes to surrender all military installations. Any vessel that attempts to flee or fight will be destroyed. The Centauri admiral stared in disbelief. Impossible. Humans have no ships in this sector. Our intelligence reports show your fleet is days away. Your intelligence is wrong, Kang Hyun-woo replied. You have 9 minutes and 30 seconds to comply. The alien admiral's shock turned to anger. We will never surrender to primitive humans. All ships attack Pattern Alpha. Destroy these invaders. Kang Hyun-woo sighed and closed the communication channel. All ships weapons free. Show them why they should have accepted surrender. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. Human ships moved with impossible speed and precision. Their quantum tunnel drives allowed them to disappear and reappear instantly, striking from unexpected angles. Centauri weapons fired at empty space while human missiles found their targets with perfect accuracy. Meanwhile, in the Krexian home system, Colonel Lim Soo-young was leading a very different kind of attack. Her marine assault ships had bypassed the orbital defenses completely, using quantum tunnels to appear directly in the atmosphere of Krexian Prime. "Drop zones confirmed," she announced to her battalion commanders. "Remember, we're not here to destroy their world. We're here to capture their command centers and show them they're not as strong as they think." The Krexian planet below was a harsh world of gray stone and metal cities. The warrior species had built their civilization around military strength and conquest. Their capital city was basically one enormous fortress, with weapon emplacements on every building. "Enemy ground. Forces are mobilizing," reported her intelligence officer. "Looks like they're sending everything they have against us." Lim Soo-young studied the tactical display. Thousands of Krexian warriors were pouring out of barracks and weapons depots. The aliens were twice the size of humans and famous throughout the galaxy for their combat skills. Under normal circumstances, a human ground force would be quickly overwhelmed, but these were not normal circumstances. "Activate the enhancement systems," Lim Soo-young ordered. Around her, human marines checked their combat suits. The advanced armor didn't just protect them, it enhanced their speed, strength, and reflexes to superhuman levels. Combined with weapons specifically designed to fight Krexian warriors, the humans were no longer at a physical disadvantage. "First wave, go," she commanded. Human dropships screamed down from orbit, moving too fast for ground-based weapons to track. They landed in perfect formation around the Krexian command complex. Marines poured out and immediately engaged the alien defenders. The results shocked everyone, including the humans. Krexian warriors who had never lost a ground battle found themselves outfought by smaller opponents. Human tactics were unpredictable and adaptive. Where Krexians relied on brute force, humans used speed and intelligence. In space above Centauri, Prime Captain Kang Hyun-woo watched as the last alien defensive platform surrendered. The entire battle had lasted less than 2 hours. Centauri forces had been completely overwhelmed by human technology and tactics they had never seen before. "Status report," he requested. "All primary objectives secured," his tactical officer replied. "Orbital defenses captured intact. Command facilities under our control. Enemy fleet elements destroyed or surrendered. 0 human casualties." "What about civilian areas?" "Completely untouched, sir. All weapons fire was precisely targeted." "No damage to civilian infrastructure." Kang Hyun-woo nodded with satisfaction. This was how humans fought when they chose to fight. Quick, efficient, and surgical. Nothing like the brutal wars the aliens were used to. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out in 11 other star systems. Commander Jin Woo-bin led the cyber warfare assault from his ship Daegu Lightning. His team of specialists had spent years studying alien computer systems and communication networks. "Initiating digital blackout," Jin Woo-bin announced. "All Council communication networks are now under human control." With a few keystrokes, his team cut the connections between alien worlds. Military commanders trying to coordinate defenses found their communications jammed or redirected. Intelligence reports were altered in transit. Orders from Central Command never reached their destinations. "The beauty of this operation," Jin Woo-bin explained to his team, "is that they think their systems are working normally. They're sending messages and receiving responses. They just don't realize we're controlling what those responses say." The psychological effect was devastating. Alien commanders found themselves isolated and confused. They couldn't coordinate with other fleets or get accurate information about what was happening. Each world thought it was the only one under attack. General O'Neill coordinated the entire multi-system assault from her command ship Soul's Might. She watched 12 different battles simultaneously, adjusting tactics in real time as new information came in. "Centauri Prime secured," she noted, marking it on her status board. "Krexian ground forces neutralized, Thrakari orbital stations captured. All objectives proceeding on schedule." Her aide approached with a new report. "General, we're receiving surrender offers from several minor species. They're asking for mercy." "Accepted," General O replied immediately. Make it clear that we have no interest in conquering their worlds. We just want them to stop supporting the Council's war against humanity. This was a crucial part of the human strategy. By showing mercy to species that surrendered quickly, they encouraged others to give up rather than fight. It was more efficient than conquest and created fewer long-term problems. Communication from Admiral Kim, her aide announced. General O activated the secure channel. Admiral Kim's face appeared on screen, broadcasting from the main fleet. Status. Report, General, Admiral Kim requested. All 12 primary targets are secured or will be within the hour. General O replied. Human casualties are minimal. Enemy losses are significant but not catastrophic. Most importantly, we've demonstrated complete technological superiority. Excellent. Any signs of the alien fleets turning back? Not yet. They're still 3 days out from their targets. When they arrive, they'll find empty space where our colonies used to be. Admiral Kim smiled coldly. Perfect. Let them waste time searching for an enemy that isn't there. Meanwhile, we'll be sitting on their homeworlds, waiting for them to come crawling back. Back on Krexian Prime, Colonel Lim Soo-young stood in the alien command center. Around her, massive Krexian warriors knelt in surrender. Their leader, War Marshal Thok Ran, stared at her in disbelief. How? He asked simply. How did small humans defeat the greatest warriors in the galaxy? Chancellor Vexithara stared at the emergency communications board in horror. Red lights flashed across every display, each one representing a homeworld under attack. His blue skin had turned almost white with shock, and his forearms trembled as he tried to process the impossible reports flooding in. This cannot be real, he whispered to the emergency council gathered around him. Humans do not have this technology. Our intelligence reports clearly showed they were nearly defeated. Admiral Teclon, the Centauri fleet commander, appeared on the main screen. His usual composed appearance was gone, replaced by panic and confusion. Behind him, his flagship's bridge crew worked frantically at their stations. Chancellor, my homeworld reports human occupation of all major military installations, Teclon said. They appeared from nowhere with technology we've never seen. Our defensive fleets were completely overwhelmed. Similar reports came in from other species leaders. The Krexian homeworld had fallen to human ground forces in less than 4 hours. The Thrakari orbital stations had been captured without a single human casualty. Every major council world told the same impossible story. Prime Minister Zulmahar, leader of the small Veltan species, sat quietly in his corner. His gray skin looked even paler than usual, but his expression was thoughtful rather than panicked. Unlike the others, he had always warned against underestimating humans. How many ships did they use? Vexithara demanded. Our best estimates suggest at least 200 vessels per target, came the reply from Centauri Prime. All using stealth technology we cannot detect and faster-than-light drives that operate at impossible speeds. Vexithara's mind raced through the calculations. If humans could deploy 200 ships to 12 different targets simultaneously, their total fleet size was far larger than anyone had believed possible. The intelligence reports had been completely wrong. Where did they get such a massive fleet, he asked. War Marshal Grokhan's image appeared on another screen. The massive Krexian leader was broadcasting from his flagship, still 3 days away from reaching the human colonies he had been sent to attack. The humans played us for fools, Grokhan growled. While we celebrated our victories, they were building this fleet in secret. Every colony we captured, every battle we won, it was all planned to make us overconfident. The realization hit the assembled leaders like a physical blow. For 3 years, they had been fighting a carefully orchestrated deception. The humans had deliberately lost battles and abandoned colonies to convince the council that they were winning. The communications we intercepted, Vexthara said slowly. The desperate calls for help, the reports of heavy casualties. All fake, Admiral Teclon confirmed. My intelligence officers have analyzed the data. The human communications were designed to be intercepted. They wanted us to hear their desperation so we would commit our fleets to offensive operations. Prime Minister Zulmahar finally spoke. His voice was calm despite the chaos around him. I tried to warn you about this possibility. Humans are not like other species. They think differently, plan differently, fight differently. What are you talking about? Vexthara snapped. 3 years ago, when we first engaged human forces, I studied their history, Zulmahar explained. Humans have a long tradition of strategic deception. They call it asymmetric warfare, using intelligence and misdirection to defeat stronger opponents. He activated his personal display, showing historical human conflicts. They have won wars by pretending to be weak when they were strong, by retreating when they planned to attack, by making enemies overconfident until it was too late. You knew this and said nothing, Groghan demanded. I said everything, Zulmahar replied, firmly. I recommended cautious engagement and genuine peace negotiations. I warned against demanding total surrender from a species we didn't fully understand. You chose to ignore my advice. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They had been manipulated by the very species they considered primitive and inferior. Status of our offensive fleets, Vexithara ordered. All fleets are still en route to their targets, Admiral Theclon reported. Estimated arrival in approximately 60 hours. However, long-range sensors show no human activity in the target systems. What do you mean, no activity? The colonies appear to be empty, Chancellor. No ships, no defensive installations, no population centers. It's as if the humans simply left. Vexithara felt his world spinning out of control. Not only had humans secretly built a massive fleet and captured Council homeworlds, but they had apparently evacuated their own colonies before the Council fleets could reach them. They knew exactly when and where we would attack, he realized aloud. A new voice joined the communication network. Captain Ryujiho appeared on screen, broadcasting from what looked like a human detention facility. He was one of several human officers captured during the early battles of the war. Greetings, Chancellor, Ryujiho said with a calm smile. I hope you're beginning to understand your situation. A prisoner, Vexithara snarled. Guards, cut this transmission. I wouldn't do that, Ryujiho said. You see, I'm not exactly a prisoner. I'm more of a diplomatic liaison. The truth hit like a thunderbolt. The captured human wasn't a prisoner at all. He was a spy who had allowed himself to be captured to gather intelligence from inside the Council's operations. For 3 years, I've been sending reports to Human Command, Ryujiho continued conversationally. Fleet movements, battle plans, strategic discussions, political decisions, everything you thought was secret, we knew about within hours. Groghan's roar of rage echoed through the communication system. Impossible, our security is absolute. Your security assumes that prisoners are helpless and defeated, Ryujiho replied. It never occurred to you that someone might choose to be captured as part of a larger plan. You interrogated me extensively, but you also talked freely around me, assuming I was broken and demoralized. Vexithara stared at the human officer with growing horror. How many other prisoners are actually intelligence agents? Ryujiho smiled. I'm not authorized to discuss operational details, but I will say this. Humans are very good at being underestimated. The communication channel from Ryujiho closed, leaving the council leaders in stunned silence. They were beginning to realize the true scope of the deception they had fallen into. Options, Vexithara demanded. Give me military options. Admiral Theclon consulted his tactical displays. We could order all fleets to return home immediately. If we combine our forces, we might be able to retake our homeworlds through concentrated assault. How long would that take? Minimum 4 days for the closest fleets to return, possibly a week for full concentration of forces. And in that time, the humans consolidate their positions and prepare defenses, Groghan added. We would be attacking fortified positions with enemies who clearly have superior technology. War Marshal Thecron appeared on screen from Crexian Prime. He was broadcasting from what was clearly a human-occupied facility. His massive frame looked smaller somehow, diminished by defeat. My fellow council members, Thecron said heavily, I must report that human occupation forces have been surprisingly civilized. They have taken control of all military installations but have not harmed civilian populations. No cities have been damaged. No civilians have been killed. This news surprised everyone. Most species in the galaxy conducted warfare through total destruction and subjugation of enemies. What are their demands? Vexithara asked. None so far, Thekron replied. They simply state that they are securing the facilities to prevent further military action against human territories. They seem to be waiting for something. Prime Minister. Zulmahar understood first. They're waiting for our fleets to return. They want us to see our homeworlds occupied by the primitive humans we tried to crush. It's a psychological operation as much as a military one. Recommend immediate negotiation. Zulmahar continued. Contact the humans directly and propose new peace talks. Absolutely not, Vexithara shouted. We do not negotiate from a position of weakness. Order all fleets to return immediately. We will retake our worlds by force. Chancellor, Admiral, Theklan said carefully. Our current military situation is challenging. Human technology appears to be significantly more advanced than our intelligence suggested. Their stealth capabilities, faster than light travel, and weapon systems all exceed our current capabilities. Are you suggesting we surrender? Vexithara demanded. I'm suggesting we reassess our strategic position based on new information, Theklan replied diplomatically. Grokhan's voice cut through the discussion. Warriors do not surrender. My fleets will return and we will crush these humans with overwhelming force. Your warriors already tried that, came a new voice. Colonel. Lim Suyung appeared on screen, broadcasting from the captured Krexian command center. War Marshal Thokran led your best ground forces against human marines. The battle lasted 4 hours. Your casualties were minimal because we accepted surrender once your position became hopeless. The young human officer looked directly at Grokhan. Your warriors are brave and strong, but bravery and strength are not enough when facing superior tactics and technology. We studied your fighting methods for 3 years. 6 months later, Ambassador Li Doyun stood in the same great hall on Nexus Prime where the Galactic Council had once demanded human surrender. The chamber looked very different now. The high thrones where alien leaders had looked down on humans were gone, replaced by a circular arrangement of equal seats. Above the center, a new flag hung. Not the banner of human dominance, but a symbol representing all species working together. Li Dohyun wore a different uniform now. Instead of the simple black diplomatic clothing, he wore the formal robes of the Governor-General of Nexus Prime. The title still felt strange to him, but the responsibility was one he had accepted willingly. Admiral Kim Jisoo entered the chamber, her military uniform bearing new insignia marking her as Supreme Commander of the Galactic Defense Force. Behind her walked representatives from all 12 former council species, now reorganized under the new government structure that humans had established. The morning briefing, Governor General, Admiral Kim said, activating the holographic displays that showed the current state of galactic affairs. The displays painted a picture of remarkable change. Trade routes that had been restricted to certain species were now open to all. Former council colonies that had been ruled harshly were now self-governing under human protection. Military installations that had once threatened weaker species now served as defensive positions protecting everyone. Status report on the integration process, Li Dohyun requested. Dr. An Seungwan approached with a data tablet. The human sociologist had spent the past 6 months designing a new system of galactic governance, based on cooperation rather than domination. His work was considered revolutionary by species that had never imagined alternatives to the old council system. Integration is proceeding better than expected, Dr. An reported. Most species have adapted well to the new cooperative framework. Trade has increased by 40% since we eliminated the council's restrictive policies. Cultural exchange programs are extremely popular. Li Dohyun nodded approvingly. What about resistance movements? Minimal and decreasing, Admiral Kim replied. A few die-hard council loyalists continue to cause problems, but they lack popular support. Most citizens prefer the new system because it treats them fairly regardless of their species' military strength. Captain Song Minjae entered the chamber, wearing the uniform of the reformed Colonial Defense Force. The new organization included personnel from all species, united under human command but serving the interests of everyone rather than just the powerful. "Governor General, the morning session of the Galactic Assembly is ready to begin," Captain Song announced. Lee Do-yun looked around the chamber one more time before the session started. In a few minutes, representatives from dozens of species would gather to discuss laws and policies that affected everyone equally. It was something the old council had never imagined possible. The great doors opened, and the assembly members filed in. Unlike the old council sessions where powerful species dominated, this gathering included representatives from colonies and minor worlds that had never had a voice before. They took their seats in the circular arrangement, no one higher than anyone else. Former Chancellor Vex Thara was among them, but he looked very different from the arrogant leader who had demanded human surrender 6 months ago. His blue skin had lost its healthy glow, and his forearms moved nervously as he took his assigned seat. He was now the representative for Centauri Prime, a position he had to compete for rather than inherit. War Marshal Grokhan was not present. The former Krexian military leader was serving a sentence for war crimes committed against human colonies. However, his replacement, General Morkesh, had proven much more reasonable and cooperative. Prime Minister Zulmahar sat near the center of the arrangement, his gray skin showing more confidence than before. The small Veltan leader had become one of the strongest supporters of the new system, having finally found a government that listened to smaller species. "Assembly members," Lee Do-hyun announced, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Today we address the final details of the Galactic Cooperation Charter. Dr. An will present the proposed amendments." Dr. An activated the central display, showing the document that would replace the old council's laws. The charter was revolutionary in its simplicity. All species were equal, all worlds had rights, and all conflicts would be resolved through negotiation rather than force. "The key principles remain unchanged," Dr. An explained. "No species may dominate another. No world may be conquered or enslaved. All disputes will be resolved through mediation and compromise. Military forces exist only to protect against external threats." Representative Vorketh from the Thrakari homeworld raised a question. "What happens if a species refuses to follow these principles?" Admiral Kim answered. "The same thing that happened to the old council when they refused to negotiate fairly. With humans, overwhelming force applied precisely and with restraint until they agree to be reasonable. The threat was implicit but clear. Humans now had the military strength to enforce the new order, and they had already demonstrated their willingness to use it when peaceful solutions failed. However," Lee Do-yun added, "we prefer cooperation to coercion. The new system benefits everyone, including former council species. Trade is up, conflicts are down, and no one lives in fear of being conquered by stronger neighbors." Former Chancellor Vex Thara requested permission to speak. His voice was much quieter than it had been during the old council sessions. "Governor General, I must ask about the long-term intentions of human leadership. Will humans rule the galaxy permanently?" Lee Do-hyun considered the question carefully before answering. "That depends entirely on whether the other species can learn to govern themselves without trying to dominate each other. Humans became the leaders because we were the only ones willing to treat everyone fairly. When other species prove they can do the same, leadership roles will be shared." He gestured to the assembly around them. Already, many administrative positions are filled by non-humans. The Scientific Council is led by a Veltan researcher. The Trade Commission includes representatives from 8 different species. Humans lead the military because we have the strongest fleet, but even there we're training officers from other worlds. Dr. An brought up another display showing the integration statistics. "In many ways, the new system is more inclusive than Earth's own government. We've learned from governing multiple species how to balance different needs and perspectives." Representative Meltara from a former council colony world stood to speak. Her species had been subjects under the old system, never allowed to participate in government. "I want to say something to the humans in this assembly," she began. 6 months ago, my people were slaves mining minerals for the Centauri fleet. We had no rights, no voice, no hope. Today, our world is self-governing and prosperous. Our children attend schools with students from a dozen different species. We trade freely with anyone who wants our products. She paused, looking around the chamber. Many of you opposed the humans when they first revealed their strength. You called them primitive and weak. But they proved to be the most advanced species in the galaxy, not in technology alone, but in wisdom and fairness. The chamber was silent as her words sank in. Even former council members had to admit that the new system was more just than what they had created. Captain Song Min-jae approached with a new report. Governor General, we're receiving the weekly status reports from the Defense Fleet. Admiral Kim reviewed the data quickly. All sectors report normal patrol activity. No conflicts, no violations of territorial boundaries, no attempts at unauthorized military buildup. The Galactic Defense Force reports full operational readiness with integrated crews from 17 different species. The transformation had been remarkable. Instead of competing fleets ready to attack each other, the galaxy now had a single defense force dedicated to protecting everyone equally. Former enemies now served on the same ships, learning to work together. There is one final matter to address, Lee Do-hyun announced. The memorial proposal. Dr. An activated a new display showing plans for a monument on Nexus Prime. The design was elegant and simple, a spiral of different materials representing all the species that had died in unnecessary wars before the new system was established. The memorial will honor all those who died because we couldn't learn to live together peacefully, Lee Do-hyun explained. Humans, Centauri, Crexians, everyone who suffered because of the old system of domination and conquest. Former Chancellor Vexathara stood slowly. Governor General, I request permission to contribute to this memorial fund. My decisions as Chancellor led to many unnecessary deaths. I cannot bring those people back, but I can help ensure they are remembered. Similar offers came from other former council leaders. The gesture was symbolic, but important. An acknowledgement that the old way of thinking had caused too much suffering. As the assembly session continued, Lee Do-hyun reflected on the events that had brought them to this point. 6 months ago, humans had been facing demands for total surrender. Now they were governing a galaxy that was more peaceful and prosperous than it had been in centuries. The irony was not lost on him. By pretending to be weak, humans had encouraged their enemies to reveal their true nature.